Pink elephants and training your brain. Have you ever felt like you were unlucky or generally unhappy? Hi, I'm Jana Henneman, founder of We&Co, and today we're going to talk about what pink elephants and training your brain have in common and what it has to do with your happiness. First and foremost, did you know that we cannot have a world without mind entering into it? Science is pointing more and more to the fact that how our brain is wired determines what we experience in our lives. For example, our brain receives around 400 billion bits of information per second, but we're only aware of 2,000 bits per second. And how our brain is wired determines which bits of information we pick up. You can think of life as like an endless smorgasbord. There's food, there's tapas, there's desserts, and drinks from all over the world. But how your brain is wired determines which food and drinks you pick up. If you've trained your brain over the years to only pick up foods that are red in color, you're missing out on the rest of the buffet. If you've trained your brain only to pick up salty foods on the buffet, that's all you're going to see. You're going to miss out on the sweet, the sour, the nutty, the spicy, the bitter, and the fragrant foods. There's a saying that I try to go by. It's that results don't lie. This means that if you're experiencing something in your business or your relationships or health-wise that you don't like, chances are your behaviors, which reflect the neural pathways you have, are producing those results over and over again. Again, you're only picking up those bits of information. For example, have you ever met anyone who seemed to be lucky? Maybe they find four-leaf clovers or they've won the lottery a couple of times. Everywhere they go, it's almost like the universe was blessing them. Or maybe you know someone who's like a serial entrepreneur and no matter what they do in business, they just seem to be successful. Chances are they have specific neural connections within their brain that help them pick out those bits of information. We are literally creating our lives as we go about them. But what happens when we notice that we're not receiving the results that we want to experience? What happens if we're constantly finding ourselves in traffic jams or with clients who don't appreciate us or who don't pay us on time? What about unexpected bills? Keep in mind, it takes practice and time to rewire your neural connections within your brain. But before we go there, let me tell you a story about pink elephants. Without realizing it and without putting too much emotion into it, my daughter Mia and we trained our brains to pick up pink elephants. When she was a toddler, we lived in Kuala Lumpur, and there's a joke that there's one traffic jam and it's 24 hours a day. So you can imagine being a toddler sitting in the back seat when you're only going 15-20 minutes down the road, hypothetically, and it takes us an hour or 45 minutes to get there. So usually around 10-15 minutes into the car ride, she would start crying. And this happened every day. So what happened is our driver at the time, he was getting tired of, Mia always, crying as toddlers do. And so he looked out the window and in a stroke of genius, he goes, "Mia, look, pink elephants." So immediately she stopped crying and she was looking outside for a pink elephant. So our goal was achieved, right? We wanted her to stop crying. We wanted her to be happy in the car. And it worked. It worked for a while. So every day we'd get in the car, and if she would start crying, we'd see a pink elephant in a tree or taking a bath in that apartment or whatever the story would be. After a while, after maybe a couple of days or a week or so, she started seeing the pink elephants herself. We'd get in the car, and she'd look out the window and go, "Mommy, pink elephant." And I'd be, "Oh yeah, there's a pink elephant flying a kite," or whatever the story would be. And she'd giggle. And again, we were just happy that she wasn't crying in the car. But fast forward a week or two, I'm cooking breakfast in the kitchen. And from the living room, I hear her squeal, "Mommy, pink elephant." So I go out into the living room and she's watching TV. And lo and behold, she sees a pink elephant as one of the cartoon characters. I thought, that's unique. So fast forward another few days and I'm walking with her in Mid-Valley Mall and she's holding my hand, holding my little two fingers, and she squeezes them real tight and she goes, "Mommy, pink elephant." And I look up and there's this massive pink elephant stuffed animal in the store. And I'm like, okay, this is getting a little creepy now, but it has avalanched from there. We had a friend in Thailand who had never met Mia, didn't know this story, but decided to send her a gift. And what was it? It was a white dress with a pink elephant with an ear that flapped out on it. After that, she received pink elephant necklaces and a pink elephant watering can because we liked to garden together. And essentially, pink elephants have followed us ever since. Now, it was really easy for us to manifest pink elephants because there wasn't a lot of emotion tied to it. It wasn't like we were waking up every day and we were thinking, I gotta get pink elephants or else, I'm gonna lose my house, or I can't make my rent payment, or, there wasn't a strong emotional attachment. So when there isn't that strong emotional attachment, it's funny how you see it all come in. It's kind of like if you hold a thought long enough, it becomes more dense. And when it becomes more dense, you start getting an emotion behind it. And then when you get a certain emotion behind it that's not clingy or needing or, anything like that, it just suddenly comes in. This could be why some people have no issues finding a lover when they want one, or they hit their sales goals every month over and over without effort. They've trained their brain to see the bits of information they want to see in their lives. So first things first, write down 3 things that you want to achieve. Now keep in mind, we don't want a strong emotional attachment to them. If you're dying to meet someone because your biological clock is ticking and you need to get married by the end of the year, I wouldn't write that down. Write down something simple. It could be as simple as, I'd like to see a cup of coffee sometime this week that I didn't buy. It was just gifted to me. Or maybe it's something like, I'd like an old client that I haven't seen in a while to reach out, and say, hey, and maybe they purchased something else from me. Whatever it is, make it believable. I used to tell my clients overseas, hey, maybe you just want to find a 4-leaf clover, something, again, that you're not so emotionally attached to. Write down 3 things, spend a few minutes on it, and then go about your day. It helps if a couple times a day you remind yourself, hey, I'm looking to see this. And keep in mind, results will vary depending on your mental state. If you're stressed out, I would recommend doing something to de-stress, right? Meditate, go for a walk, exercise, journal, whatever it takes to just calm down. When you've relaxed, even just a little bit, like on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're 10 stressed and you manage to get yourself down to an 8 or a 7, that's a huge success. You should celebrate that. So here are some other things you can do every day to help train your brain into picking up the bits of information you want to see on the endless smorgasbord of food. 1, journal about these 3 things that you want to create every day. Number 2, look for evidence of it, right? Like before we had the pink elephants actually come into our physical experience, into our lives, we were seeing them even when we couldn't see them before. Then we started seeing them, then they started coming in. Number 3, listen to music every day that pumps you up. What's something that gets your blood flowing, that makes you feel like you're invincible? Do that, listen to that, watch that, whatever it could be. Maybe it's a motivational video. The point is surround yourself with the content that pumps you up. Number 4, set an alarm on your phone to remind you every 3 or 4 hours to take a few moments, 5 minutes to think about these 3 things. Obviously, don't do it in the middle of the night when you're sleeping. 5, start a vision board. If you're a highly visual person, go through some magazines or print off some photos from the internet and post them up on your vision board and look at them every couple of hours. Again, sometimes partnering that with your 5-minute visualization every 3 hours, that's going to help tremendously. And again, results are going to vary for people. What's your level of attachment to making these results happen? Again, if you've ever met someone who was like a stage 5 clinger, you kind of want to run to the other side of the room and never see them again. Whatever it is you're trying to see or create in your life is the same. I want this, I need this, I must have it. That's usually a very repulsive energy. But if you're like the cool kid in high school that all the girls are chasing after, the guy who just doesn't care one way or another, for some reason, these things come in easier into your periphery. The whole point is to make time to focus. And I know this is kind of tip of the iceberg kind of content right now. We're not even going into the emotional aspect and how much of an impact that has on whatever it is that you're trying to experience. But if you start there, you're good. Just start by trying to focus on what it is you want to see without great attachment to it. Your challenge is to do these 5 things every day. Take a few minutes, de-stress, journal, visualize, set that alarm, create a vision board, do whatever it is you need to do. Listen to some music, surround yourself with content that makes you feel good. Anywho, I'm Jana Henneman. Wishing you nothing but everything you want to see and pink elephants in your future. Also, be sure to subscribe to our social channels and to our weekly newsletter. We're not pitching you anything. We're just providing different content each week. Thanks and have a great day.